Greetings, YouTube. People who have watched my crafting videos in the past, particularly ones that dealt with weapon construction that involved making points or shaping things, are familiar with my angle grinder. I love my angle grinder. It's a Ryobi. It works wonderfully. But in the past, I have exclusively used flap discs like this. And they work great at shaping. They are not really suited to cutting. Now, I haven't used a cutoff disc like this because I did not possess that, which is a flange nut. And this is from the Grinder Flange Nut kit from Milwaukee. Now, this is a Milwaukee kit designed to be relatively universal. But because this is a Ryobi grinder, it doesn't quite fit properly. Now, I am sure that this thing came with a nut when I bought it. There's a little wrench right here, and it's designed for said nut and for other things you can attach on this. But since I never had a cutoff disc, I never had an opportunity to use a cutoff disc, it got misplaced years ago. I mean, I've had my grinder for 7, almost 8 years, I guess. And it works as well now as the day I bought it. So, very pleased with it. And it was a reasonable price, if I remember correctly. But now I have a flange nut, and I'm going to be able to use cutoff wheels. And the flange nut kit I bought, which came with this nut and this wrench right here, which is the same style wrenches that came with there, but the spacing on these two pegs is different, so the wrench that came with my Ryobi doesn't fit it. But now I've got options, so I got 2 different wrenches, so if I find other adapters in the future, I should be able to at least accommodate them between one of the 2 wrenches. And because of this, I have to use a washer, and I lucked out, and I got the washer out of my parts bin. Now, this cost me 10 bucks. This disc cost me $1 at a thrift shop, and this was free. So I'm going to show you why I need the washer. So next I'm going to put the thing together and show you how it doesn't fit properly. So there we go. This is the disc, and you can see it's completely loose. Even though this is just finger tight, there's just no way for me to tighten it any further. But if I take that off, whoops, actually I need to put the blade back on, sorry. Put the blade back on. The blade goes on first, and then the washer goes on. And then, I mean, the washer doesn't have to be perfectly centered because it's going to be completely covered with this nut. I tighten it down, and no play. Obviously, I will tighten it down much more than this when I go to use it. But now I can use the cutoff wheel. So, what do I want to do with the cutoff wheel? Well, I actually have a number of projects in mind, but I thought I would start out with something relatively simple because I've never used it before, so I was going to come up with a project that only required 2 cuts. And what am I going to cut? I'm going to cut this. Now, I'm using a headlamp at the moment. I think it's going to pick up the marker on this. Now, you can see the marker. I'm going to turn this garden edger into a heavy short spear, and I mean heavy short spear. This is thick metal with a very stout handle. This is from Ames. It's ran me 16 bucks. So I'm not in for a whole lot of this project. I mean, the nut and the cutting wheel, that was 11 bucks, but I can use that for 1,001 projects. Anything I want to cut, I can cut with it. But this is going to be my first project, and we're going to see how it goes. And my goal is to cut to the outside of this line, end up with 2 triangular pieces of metal, and then to put the flap wheel on, clean it up so that they're straight, and then put an edge on them. So I'll end up with something that, you know, vaguely looks like a kind of a classic spearhead. So next up, take this outside, clamp it down, because this is going to make a whole lot of mess. I want to be doing this outside. It's kind of funny though, when I made sure that the blade ran true after I tightened it up, and I turned it on in the house. My cat Spam really didn't like that. So tighten up the flange nut, and then take this stuff outside. And I should like to point out, before I go any further, that flange is my favorite word in all the world. Alrighty, so here we are outside. I've got the edger bolted in place. We'll see how this works, or if it's going to become disastrous for me. Got my work gloves out. Here's my angle grinder. Got some over my glasses sunglasses, which both give me some better vision because it's very bright and glary out here today. Also some protection.
though they are not actual proper safety glasses. I don't have any safety glasses that are sun shielding. I should get some of those, or something I can use. I'd like to get a full face screen. I don't have one of those yet. I'd like to get one of them. So, put the gloves on, and we'll give it a try. Okay folks, there we go. This is my first ever cut. And for our first ever cut, I've never done this before, I think I did a pretty darn good job. It came out nice, and here we have the cast off piece. Now if I had any kind of welding skill or something, I would weld this to the side of this and make this thing a true boar spear. In fact, I'm going to save both the cut-off pieces, clean them up, and maybe I can at some future date take this to someone who can weld and have that welded in place, because like that would be kind of cool, but I can't do that. So so we're just gonna make the spear itself. So it did twist a little because I was putting pressure on it, though I was letting the blade do as much of the work as possible. I was putting as little pressure on this as required. Now I have the handle configuration on this side. I think I'm going to try and put it on the other side and see if it's any more comfortable for this kind of a cut. I've never done that before. I just want to play with it. If it isn't, I can always go back to the other side and cut the next side the way I cut this one. It isn't a fast process, but again, this is fairly substantial steel. That's like, you know, that's a good 1/8 inch thick, and it's, you know, and of course, if this thing ever had any temper, the temper on this edge is now blown, because even though I'm going nice and slow, I am heating it up. And this is just a first time project, so we're going to see where it goes. And I think it came out, I mean, that's a nice straight cut. I got to be careful, there's burrs on there. I don't want to catch my glove and hurt myself. I'm trying to be as careful as possible because I'm out here by myself, even though I've got neighbors around, but I'd like to avoid being injured. Really, I would. So we're going to switch the handle up and see if I like that configuration better, and if I don't, I'm just going to go back and cut the other side. So that's the next thing up. Alrighty, the second cut didn't go quite as well. I actually had to stop and restart it because I kind of started to go a little off angle, and we ended up with this little bump here, and I didn't quite meet where I wanted to meet, so I'm going to have to take some more off this. This side, the right side is pretty much dead on where I want it. The left side isn't quite the same, and I didn't have quite the same starting point, but it's very, very close. And I can just clean it up at the flap wheel. And again, this is my first time at this. So next is going to be put the flap wheel on and start shaping the edges so that they're the way I want them, deburr them, at least on the back side, and then start putting an edge on. And I'm probably just going to put a chisel edge on this because I just want to make it fairly fast and simple. The first thing you do whenever you change a disc is unplug your tool. Okay, I've changed my mind. I'm actually going to try doing a proper double-sided bevel. So a bevel on this side, a bevel on that side. So now I'm going to turn it over and try, because I got this side pretty much where I want it. It's not perfect, but again, I'm using an angle grinder here, and I've never done this before. I have never ground an edge like this before from scratch. So I'm not doing too bad, I don't think. I got a pretty decent line. It isn't perfect. I'm going to turn it over, and we're going to see how if I can clean it up. And I'm not looking for razor sharp here. I'm looking for sharp enough. I should say, sorry, shaving sharp. Razor sharp is a misnomer, and smart people don't use it. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that edge. It comes approximately to a 45-degree angle. So like a little 45-degree in both directions. This is essentially a 90-degree angle, but just at a canter. And I've decided I'm not going to take it any further. It comes to a wicked point, which is darn close to even. And again, for using an angle grinder on a blade that isn't actually flat, it's got a slight curve to it, I think that's a pretty good job. Let me get my butt up here. Knees are a little creaky. So there you go. Also, you can see how this whole thing is put in there. This is formed, and then it's riveted in there, and the handle is set in pretty deep. This is actually a really nice one. I saw a similar style at, I bought this at Home Depot, and I saw a similar style of head on the original at Tractor Supply, but it had a handle at the end, like a shovel handle, like a like a 90-degree handle, and the head was slopping all over the place. It was wiggling, and this is nice and tight, and this is nice and secure. So now I'm going to take it off, and I'm going to take a shot of it when it's vertical, so you can see a better image of it. And one of the things I like about this particular design is that it's very heavy, but I can still use it with one hand, and I think it's going to go well with a shield. And I'll get to take a picture of myself in a mirror holding this thing in a minute, because again, I'm solo today. I got no one to take pictures of me. My wife is at work while I'm home playing, which is probably should be playing with power tools. To tell you the truth, I've been up since it's I don't know, about 3 p.m. I guess, and I've been up since about 3 p.m. yesterday. I had a 2-hour nap last night. That was it. So I've been up for a really long time, but I do this every Friday. So take it down, and I'll show you what it looks like in its presentation position. And I apologize for the fan noise, but my lighting options in the bathroom are somewhat limited. So here you go. This is what the spear looks like next to me. So it comes up to just about my eye. And so I can quite easily hold this one-handed and thrust quite readily, or couch it in my arm, and hold the shield at the same time, which I own 3 of. 2 of which I made myself. A buckler, the stop sign shield, and I own a riot shield. So, you know, I got the perfect thing to use. With the riot shield now, I have my very own heavy short spear. Of course, you could also use this in two-handed, and you're really going to be able to hit a major impact with this thing and not going to have to worry about, in the least, I apologize, I lost the framing there. I'm not going to have to worry about the least of damaging the tool as far as the shaft breaking or anything. This is not going to snap anytime soon, and I'm really quite impressed with my first ever bevel. I have no idea if that's coming in. I apologize if it isn't. It looks pretty darn good to me. It's too out of focus. I apologize. But there you go. My first cutting project, my first short spear, and I'm hoping it's not going to be the last. I have a number of projects that I have in mind, all of which entail using a cutoff wheel so that I can put slots in things and shape things to my leisure. So there you go, folks. Short spear.